It's been the topic of my last several videos, and we've still got new rounds of it. It's severe weather, and it's going to continue as we head towards next week with a new and potent storm system bringing warmth and moisture northward. That's going to help support the severe weather risk from Texas all the way to the East Coast. In this video, I've got all the details you need on that and more in the weather world, so stick around. Thanks so much for being here with me at One Nation Weather. Don't forget to check out the WeatherBell trial link down in the description to get the maps that I use right here on the channel. Also, if you want to support the channel and you're not already subscribed and you want those consistent, accurate, and easy to understand updates, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and also leave a comment down below to tell me where you're watching from. Now, let's jump right into this and take a look at future radar. You can see we've got a little bit of a weak front draped from parts of the Great Lakes all the way back down to the South Central Plains as we head towards our Friday, May 3rd in the afternoon. We'll be watching some isolated severe storms that could develop along that parts of Texas and Oklahoma. Other than that, just some generalized thunderstorms in scattered nature from Michigan all the way back down to the Gulf Coast. From that, notice how that front progresses eastward. We're going to see impacts from parts of New York, back down to the Florida Gulf Coast there. As we head towards our Saturday, May 4th in the afternoon, definitely some disruptions to plans, but not really significant disruptions in the way of severe weather. Only one or two stronger storms expected in a localized fashion there. Same goes with these storms from parts of Wisconsin back down to Texas Saturday afternoon. A locally severe storm cannot be ruled out, especially the further south you go along that boundary, as we're going to have multiple of those moving through in the central and eastern United States, as you can see this weekend. Next storm system, that's the one I just circled, pointed an arrow into the Rockies for late Saturday going into Sunday here. We're going to see wind, rain, high elevation snowfall move out of California, Washington, and Oregon there, heading to the east, and that's going to be what tails this front. You can see this front over parts of the East Coast, from parts of Maine back down to Texas, with scattered showers and afternoon thunderstorms here as we head through our Sunday, May 5th. Once that departs, we're going to see the moisture return quickly behind that, and look at how that develops our next system by the time we head towards our Monday, May 6th. In the late afternoon and evening hours, probably some severe weather erupting out of this low as it moves somewhere from parts of Nebraska into the Dakotas region. With that southerly flow over parts of the plains, we'll probably be watching severe storms from at least North Texas through Oklahoma into parts of Kansas, Nebraska, maybe even on up there into some areas of Missouri, Iowa, Minnesota, as well as North Dakota, depending on how this sets on up. Certainly looks significant, though, in the severe weather department, as this is a negatively tilted trough. I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. You can see by the time we head towards Tuesday, May 7th here, showers and storms looking to continue along this boundary, somewhere from parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, on up into the Midwestern regions of Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. Could we see some isolated severe weather as far north as Wisconsin and Michigan? That's not out of the question Tuesday, nor Wednesday here, as we see some new low-pressure systems developing along our jet stream. And I'll show you what this looks like again, as I mentioned here momentarily. We've got multiple little pieces of energy swirling around one big upper-level system. That's going to help to support more storms over the south central, even the Midwestern regions of the United States. Wednesday, Thursday, yep, you can see late Wednesday going into early Thursday over parts of the Ohio Valley, some more storms, maybe even the northeastern quadrant of the United States, not completely out of the zone for severe weather. Let's look at that same setup at about 18 to 20,000 feet above our heads in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere here with those wind speeds. You can see on our European ensembles, which are just a collection of models here, blended into one, so an average, a good set of data to look at. Notice how as I draw these arrows, at first I'm drawing them from left to right horizontally, but then they start going from bottom to top of the screen, so to speak, here over parts of Oklahoma all the way on up there to South Dakota. That is a horizontally, then vertically tilted trough, also known as a negatively tilted piece of energy. What this is going to set up is a significant severe weather event, more than likely from parts of, again, Texas all the way on up as far north as Minnesota and the Dakotas for late Monday. And as that trough continues progressing eastward here, even over parts of the Midwest as we head late Tuesday going into early Wednesday, that's still going to at least have some severe potential with it. There's also going to be the multiple pieces of energy riding along this, and even as it progresses further towards the south and east from there, we're going to notice impacts move from parts of the Midwest through parts of the Ohio Valley into the southeastern United States, and you'll notice how it takes a very long time for this whole piece of energy to really make it off the Gulf Coast and Southeast Coast, in fact, until the middle of next weekend, so about 7 to 10 days out. Looking at the dew points, one ingredient of severe weather, once you get them into the yellows, those oranges, that's when you're talking 50s, 60s, and even near 70 for dew points. That is rich moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico here that you can see on our late Monday, May 6th. So it's looking like an all-hazard severe weather threat will be likely from, again, Texas at least as far north as southern Iowa there, as we head towards Tuesday, all of that same moisture progressing eastward along a cold front here. So from southern Wisconsin all the way back down to northeast Texas, really looking like the severe weather bullseye then, at least in terms of the moisture setup. This is just one model. The moisture could be a little bit delayed, might not be as intense as what it's showing in some of these zones here on screen. This is just one playthrough, the European model, which is the one that is normally very trusty and the one that I like to use. Here we go towards Wednesday, our May 8th time frame, and you can see from parts of eastern Texas all the way to the mid-Atlantic, really, some parts of the northeastern United States getting in on this moisture as well. So we've got a big, broad, warm sector is what it's called here, setting up the potential, assuming that storms and systems can move through that moisture for some severe weather, which of course is going to likely happen. This is a different collection of ensembles, just like we looked at with the upper elements of the air here. Now we're looking closer to the surface with the precipitation, with the GFS model and its collective members here. You can see as we head towards the late Monday going into early Tuesday, again, looking like the setup for storms really goes as far north as the Dakotas and Minnesota, so the Storm Prediction Center will look at their outlook for Monday, late Monday going into early Tuesday here in a minute. I certainly think their outlook could extend a little bit further north than it does right now. Regardless of that, it's looking like low pressure system moving into the Great Lakes, as I noted earlier, by the time we head towards late Tuesday. That's also in connection with that low that's still sitting over parts of North Dakota. So we've got a couple different pieces of energy here. The main one in the upper levels is sitting over the northern plains. That's going to support this cold front from parts of Michigan all the way back down to northeast Texas. On the ensembles showing it here on average precipitation, heaviest there from Michigan back to Texas late Tuesday going into early Wednesday. That'll be our severe zone then, looking like a new area of energy swirling around our general low over the northern plains. That's going to move into the Midwest and Ohio Valley as we head towards late Wednesday going into early Thursday, May 9th here. So we could additionally see some storms right around that Ohio River region then, and it looks like some areas of the East Coast could also be impacted as early as late Wednesday going into Thursday. Some spots of the northeastern United States also being included in that, and if not, then maybe even as we head towards Friday. Still a little bit uncertain when exact storm systems will move through, whether we'll get the daytime heating enough for severe weather. Certainly looking like a very active finish to next week, especially in those areas that we're having the greens. Those greens indicating heavier precipitation on that graphic there. Now, the Storm Prediction Center's outlook for Monday, May 6th here of 2024, from parts of areas just northwest of Dallas through Chickasaw, Oklahoma City, Bartlesville there in Oklahoma, all the way northward to Wichita, then Kansas City, Missouri, as well as Omaha and Lincoln there in Nebraska. We've got a slight risk for severe weather already being issued, and in my severe zones graphic here, which is a little different from my ONW severe scale, what I'm showing you here is that overall severe risk zones will be needing to be watched day by day here, starting Monday from parts of Texas all the way up to southern Minnesota, then from parts of northeast Texas to really Michigan on Tuesday. Then as we head towards Wednesday, again, northeast Texas all the way on over there to New York. These are the areas that I'm watching day by day for at least the broad chance of severe weather. Of course, there probably will be more intense zones for those storms within these areas. Notice where the overlap is occurring, though. Really on that Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana border region. That's where we're seeing a lot of overlap. So multiple days of severe weather there, even over to the Ohio River Valley, at least Tuesday and Wednesday, maybe even into Thursday, bringing a severe weather threat. Multiple days is what I want to reiterate, because you need to be prepared for multiple days of severe weather. Now let's talk about temperatures here. Go day by day with our temperature tracking. First of all, starting off with the National Digital Forecast Database graphics here, you can see Friday, May 3rd, 2024 in the morning. Any of these areas really in the yellows, the oranges, we're looking at plenty of 50s and 60s over the southeastern corner and really quadrant of the United States for in the morning hours of our Friday. That's what you'll be waking up to and heading out the door to. By the time we head towards the afternoon of our Friday, lots of 70s up there as far north as the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region. Notice where we've got some 80s. Anywhere you see a box on screen, that's where we've actually got a record warm high. We'll have that there into parts of Ohio, West Virginia late Friday here. Some upper 80s, even some low 90s closer to the Gulf Coast, as well as on down there in southwestern Arizona. Looking at this, even if I'm not showing your location, remember, you can still use the key and the graphic on screen to kind of see what your location is getting. Saturday, May 4th in the morning, any of those circles there in Ohio, West Virginia, even western parts of the state of Virginia, those circles indicating record warm lows to start the day. So you get the point there. Really mild starts and very warm in the afternoon with 80s as far north as the Ohio Valley and at southern lower Michigan there into parts of our Saturday afternoon. You can see if you're south of that line that I just drew on screen there, really well into the 80s, some upper 80s closer to the Louisiana Gulf shores, the Alabama, Georgia, Florida region. Then here as we go towards our Sunday, May 5th, waking up to, again, if you're southeast of this line here, that's where that cold front's setting up at least Sunday, a weak one at that. The moisture is going to eventually return behind it, but we've still got 50s and 60s. even some lower 70s here in this area. I'm circling there into parts of Texas, Louisiana, and southern Arkansas. Here we go towards our Sunday afternoon. Look at these highs. You can see those deep reds here in the east. Any of these zones here below this line well into the 80s for the afternoon, especially on down there into parts of, again, in southern Tennessee, really on in this zone. This is where we could isolated see some 90s there through southern Alabama, southern Georgia, lots of Florida, and even the low country of South Carolina and North Carolina Sunday afternoon. Here we go towards Monday in the morning. Notice ahead of our next system here, that potent trough in the plains. Some 50s as far north as South Dakota and Minnesota. A broad area of 60s here in the southern and eastern corridor of the United States. Texas, plenty of mid-70s in the southern part of the state. Just to start the day, by the afternoon, we'll see 80s surge as far north here. Maybe even approaching parts of Iowa, Illinois. Some of those zones, definitely some 70s up here, even into parts of Boston, southern Maine. Look at this. We've got upper 80s, some low 90s, still close to the Gulf Coast Monday afternoon. The heat is only going to intensify as we head through next week. Look at this. Starting the day, these are the low temperatures in the morning. What you're waking up, going out the door to Tuesday, May 7th. Any of those circles, again, are record warm starts to the day. That's what's going to be going on in the Ohio Valley with 50s and 60s. Plenty of 60s and 70s closer to the Mississippi Valley. Tuesday afternoon, look at those grayish colors further south in this zone. I know I'm circling a broad zone where we're seeing the 80s, but in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, southern Tennessee, any of these southeastern zones, I know these are the areas that normally see the warmth in the summer, obviously at its hottest with the most humidity, but still this is unseasonable warmth for this time of the year. Really signifies what we could eventually see this summer, maybe some triple digits in some of these zones. Look at this, Wednesday morning, all those circles, record warm lows from Louisiana, Mississippi, all the way curling on up, especially to the Appalachian range. These 60s and 70s, very unusual for this time of the year in the morning. So are these boxed areas in the afternoon. That's where you've got the record warm highs. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, even on up to the mid-Atlantic, these 80s and 90s, extremely unusual. Even your Chicago, northern Indiana, southern parts of Michigan on Wednesday and going into maybe even Thursday, we'll be looking at temperatures approaching the 80-degree mark. This is as the temperature anomalies that we're seeing on these ensembles. So again, these collections of models here. That's what they're showing, 5, 10, 15 degrees above average, at least on an average here, from parts of Texas, Louisiana, all the way up to the Great Lakes, Wednesday, May 8th of 2024. Meanwhile, it's the exact opposite effect with 10 to 15 degree below average departures back here over parts of Oregon, Idaho, surrounding zones there into the four corners of the United States as well. Here we go towards the late week time frame, and this is when we could begin to see severe weather get pushed closer to the Gulf Coast, the east coast of the United States, as cooler air enters the central plains with 5 to 10 degree departures from average, so actually below average temperatures moving into the region at that point. And then look at this, I think the eastern cool down and central plains cool down could be in its entirety as we head towards May 11th, May 12th of 2024 here. This could be when we see finally at least a lull in some severe weather activity, and I'll be obviously tracking that and hoping for the best with that, because we do not need more storms, especially after what's likely next week. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you want to stick with me through all the storms, post every couple of days, hit the subscribe button for consistent, accurate videos and live streams. That's it for this one. Hope you found this valuable. That's it. Have a good one, everyone.